In this video, I'm going to be putting a raspberry into a grow bag, and I'm going to be showing you why I'm using a grow bag, and I'll also give you a few tips and tricks along the way, and we'll have a look and see what it looks like in about 6 months' time. G'day everybody, it's Daz here from my Aussie Garden and Kitchen, Garden Edition. So let's get straight into this, and as you can see, we've got a grow bag, and I've already got some soil in there. Now what's happening here is I've got a nice sandy loamy soil that's from my yard. It's really important with raspberries that you put them into a soil that's going to be really well drained. Absolutely don't have them in a clay type soil because they don't like their roots soggy. You really can't have the roots of raspberry plants permanently wet. They really are prone to disease, and that's not going to work at all. So as you can see here, I'm starting off with a mix of this sandy loamy soil from my yard. Now before I move on, I just wanted to give a tip about a grow bag. Quite often you'll get a grow bag and it's too tall for your plants. That's fine, just fold the tops over. There's no point wasting compost that you've worked hard to make yourself, or say you buy your soil and your compost, you don't want to be spending extra money on soil that you don't really need to be using. So just fold the tops over, get those tops folded over, and you've now got yourself a shorter bag, but you've still got the same diameter. And that's what I'm doing here today with this bag, for instance. So now we've got the bag all set up and we've got the soil in there. I get my compost, and what I like to do is, in this case, run the compost through a sieve. I've got a homemade sieve here. I've got a few of them and they've all got different sized holes in them, or mesh. And in the case of this one, this is a finer one. So what's happening is I'm going to give myself a nice smooth powdery like compost, and that's going to blend into the soil really nicely. It's going to hold moisture in the soil but not too much, and then combined with that sandy soil, it's going to be able to keep the soil wet when needed but also drain all the excess from the bottom. Now also with this compost that I'm making, it's nice and fine, so what's going to happen is that the little tiny roots are going to have plenty of room and freedom. They're not going to be struggling against obstacles trying to grow. And also with raspberries, raspberries will actually shoot out little baby shoots from the ground and they'll turn into new canes. So I like to have a nice really loose sandy soil, as I keep on saying, with this compost that's been finely sieved, and it's just a great combination, and I have great success with my raspberries. If you've not been to my channel before, I've grown raspberries for quite a few decades and I've been quite lucky at how successful I've been. Once I've got my compost in with the soil, I give it a really good mix, and I want to get a 50-50 mix of each and blend it in really well. Then I like to make a hole in the middle, not too far down, because you don't want the roots to be sitting down deep into the pot or the container, because the roots are going to be so far down that if water does catch in the bottom and sit, the roots are going to be sitting in that. Also, I like the roots up higher initially, so they've got time over the next year or two to slowly grow down and have a bit of room to grow, rather than already being at the bottom and being root bound. So now I've got my well in the middle. I like to get my container and just have a look and pair the sizing with the hole. And then what I'll do is carefully take it over the container. I was very lucky in this case. I gave it a few taps and it came straight out. And then what I want to do is take the plant and put it into the hole, but I just want to tease the roots slightly on the sides and the bottom, but not too much. I don't want to break the roots, I don't want to damage them at all, but I just want to make them a little bit looser, so when they go into the soil, they can freely reach out and make their way around in that fresh new soil that they're getting buried into. I'll then backfill the soil, bring it all the way to the edges, and making sure that I don't go above that root ball. You'll see where all the canes come down into the soil of the original pot plant. Well, that's where you want to stop the soil and keep it even. And then once all that's in really nicely, I give it a nice little mix of a bit of fertilizer. I use a blood and bone and a little bit of rotted chicken manure. Unfortunately, my camera overheated and I can't show you that bit, but just a little bit of fertilizer on the top. Now I put it on the top rather than down in the soil because of two things. I don't want to burn those young roots, and also I want that nutrition that's on top to slowly seep down as I water over time. Oh, I should point out that with the roots, make sure that they go into the soil and they're backfilled completely with no air pockets. You don't want air pockets in around the roots, it's not good for them. So if you can, really tuck the soil underneath, push it in, compact it a little bit with your fingers, just get it in there and push a bit, and you should be good to go. Once I've got that soil backfilled really nicely and a bit of fertilizer in there, I'll then put mulch on top and spread mulch around the top. It's a sugarcane mulch, and the reason I like sugarcane mulch is because it's going to break down. It'll be a nice organic mix. It's going to eventually go into the soil, and I'll blend that into the soil over time. Also, it's going to suppress weeds, give the plant and all the young shoots a really good chance to grow really well without the hassle of weeds and grass growing amongst them. And most importantly, it's going to retain moisture. Now, I did say about how we don't want it too soggy, but still, this is going to keep a nice amount of moisture into the soil. And of course, because the soil is a free draining soil with that sandy, loamy soil that I started with, it's going to drain out the bottom of the grow bag. I really like grow bags because of the ability for them to drain from the sides and the bottom, but also the portability. So for instance, this grow area here, well, this entertaining area here, the shade will move slightly over the seasons, so I can adjust the plants just by turning them slightly in a grow bag, just so the foliage can get a face onto the sun, whether it be this direction or that direction. So that's one good thing with a grow bag or a container compared to, say, planting into the ground directly or into a big raised garden bed. At this stage, I'll give the raspberry a good watering in. Now I'm getting that water on there to soak up the mulch and make the mulch heavy so it doesn't blow around in the wind, and also to get some of that nutrition from the fertilizer that I put on top, get that to soak into the soil a bit. And then with the watering, you'll more than likely see water running out the bottom. Don't worry about that. It's a brand new soil. It's going to take a little bit of water to get it actually nice and moist. So what I will do is I'll go back again the next day, give it a watering the next day, and check the soil with my finger. If it's okay, I'll leave it at that. But if it's feeling a little dry, I'll give it a watering again in 3 days' time. Now my one requires a bit of staking, so what I've done is I've put a bamboo stake at each end and I've just zigzagged twine in between, and I've just weaved, well, I'll go like this, I've just weaved the branches up through that, and that's just going to keep them steady, stop them from blowing around in the wind. They won't break, and also it's not going to stress out the bottom of the plant, and it's going to give them a bit of stability. And then as they get bigger, I'll work out some sort of staking structure for the more advanced branches when they're a lot thicker. In your case, if your plant's a little bit smaller, it wouldn't hurt to put in a couple of bamboo sticks or some small stakes of some kind with a bit of twine between them, and just stake that single, more than likely single cane that you've got, and just let it go like that, and then you can worry about staking it properly as you get more growth. Now here they are, a good 6 months later. As you can see, they've thrived really well with the grow bags. In fact, they've done really well, and I've already taken fruit off these this season, this summer. And I'll probably keep these here for the next couple of years. They're going to do quite well in these grow bags. If I see that they're starting to struggle with the grow bags, I can move them out into a raised garden bed. I won't put them into the ground because they do have the ability to spread, and I've known from in the past that's been a bit of an issue where I've just had to mow them with a lawnmower because they just got way out of hand. So when growing raspberries, I do recommend that you look at containers or raised garden beds where you can contain them and stop them from spreading. I really do recommend that you check out this video on the screen right now. It's going to take you to my video where I show you how to prune and care for raspberries. I have diagrams that explain why some fruit in summer, one's at fruit in fall and autumn. So I really can't recommend this one enough. Thank you so much for being here, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.